Hello, everyone. Welcome to a class. Today, we'll continue to talk about the Rust. The Rust provides a very a new special type to allow the programmer like you or me allow us to write our program in a very flexible way. We don't need to define so many different variables, and if we want to use a kind of a package of the value different type, we can use this special type to do it. It's also includes the structs. We usually in C we use structures to implement to support different the value in different type in a big a package type, right? So today we will talk about something not in C languages, which is tuple, and something we already have in the C languages, which is structs. Okay, so this is a tuple example, and you can see tuple is very convenient way to for us to package different the value with different type together. For example, this tuple, I get one integer here, one floating point here, and another integer here. Like if we have a tuple like this is just one value. This value contains three small value inside this value, and we can easily assign this value to a corresponding variable like this. We assume we have x, y, z, three different variables equal to this tuple. It will assign 500 to x, 6.4 to y, and 1 to z. So if we print out this, we got 6.4. So we can easily package the value with different type together, and we can easily assign this value to different variables afterward. Okay, so this is a very good example. And if you want to use a specific value in a tuple, you can use the index. So here you can see the tuple.0, which is this 1, 0, 1, and 2. So tuple.0, you got 500. Tuple.1, you got the 6.1. And tuple.2, you got 1 here. So it will print out 500, 6.4, and 1. You can also assign tuple.2, which is 1, to different variable. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility here we can use to define, to use these values in different type to assign them to a specific variable, or combine this value together and pass it to different for example function and use it in a function, right? So this is a very convenient way for us to write our code. And in C languages we don't have a tuple, but the Rust they provide is tuple, and tuple is type. It's give the programmer a lot of flexibility. Compared to tuple, you already know what we will do in C. We use struct. So struct is also defined in Rust. So you can still have a struct in Rust. If you want to define a struct, you need to tell the variable name in a struct and what's the type for this variable. So we define username, email as a string. We define a number. We define a Boolean. We need to define it, but we can also define a structs like this. If we want to get the structs, how to assign it, we can easily use this way. So it's very similar to what we have in C, except in this one, you can combine the variable together and you just use the user, which is the name of your struct, with the parentheses. Then you can package all the information into each fields. We call it fields, right? So each fields in the structs. So this is something we know we have in C, and it's also be defined in Rust. So you can also do a more advanced way in Rust. Rust provide a way to copy the value from one data. If they both are the same type, same struct type, you can get the data in another variable and assign to a new variable in this case. In this case, we want to have a new email and new username, but we want to keep the remaining information are same. We can just use dot user1. User1 is a variable name, then it will copy this information inside the struct. It's a very convenient way to assign a value to a struct in Rust. Okay, so this is also some advantage, some flexibility Rust provides to us. Okay, so this is structured in Rust, but just keep in mind this is the same as C languages. In C languages, when we define structure, the structure is a one type, right? So if we use a structure, we define one type, the first type, with 3 integers inside it. We define another structure, which is another type with 3 integers. It is these two structs, they are different type. Even though we all know inside both these type, they only contain 3 integers. So it's kind of a match to each other, right? But because you define it, we define it is just a type. It's a special type. So it doesn't matter what's the value you store in these structures, in these structs. If you define 2 different struct type, they cannot be matched to each other. They have a different type name, and they will be treated in different ways. So in this example, we say, okay, we define the type A equal to type 1, so it's a type 1. So the A should be type 1, right? But here we have a B we got the from type 2, so this is type 2. Even though we know type 1 has 3 numbers 0, 0, 0, type 2 has 3 numbers, the B has 3 numbers 0, 0, 0. But when we do the A equal to B, it will give you an error message. You cannot assign value with a type 2 to type 1. Okay, so remember the structures. If you use structures to define a type, then the type is independent. You cannot use assign value with different type, no matter like how you define it. Even though these two types contain the same number of value, same number and same type of values, you cannot assign just assign it directly. Okay, so this is something you need to pay attention. So today is a short videos. We talk about a very special like a type in Rust, tuple and structs. Both are really good type, and it can help user to give user an easy way to organize their variable, their code, because the Rust is still not object-oriented programming languages. So you don't have an object. You need to use this like a special type to kind of organize your code, to help to organize your code, right? So we introduce a tuple, we introduce a struct. They both are really good. Just pay attention on like when you use structs to define a specific variable, specific type. The type is just an independent, user specific type. So it's just new type. So this is something you need to pay attention. Okay. Hope you enjoyed today's videos. Okay, so see you next time. Tuple structs in Rust is awesome.